Alright, we're gonna play this game again, and it's probably gonna be really cringy because I'm going to be reading it. Plus, I want to see what Derek's story is about, so Lego. Yeah. 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 We can skip this, right? Yeah. That's just like a lot. Woo. Goodness, alright. Oh, I have a round face. I'm not dark brown, but this is always like a dramatic, like that's why I hate when like skin tones are a thing, because it's like super dramatic. I'll go with that, but that's really white, but I mean, I'm gonna go with those. I have pretty dark eyes. We're gonna go with Nori. Wow. We can go with she. I don't really care. I don't have the voice name shit. What kind of hair do we want as like a little kid? Fuck. Do I really want to be tan? Ugh. Jesus. But I'm not. I don't know. Oh wow. Aww. Aww. Oh. Damn. Well. We're gonna go with this. But do I really want to be... I just feel like there needs to be a color in between tan and brown. Whatever. Hair in the back. Yeah, curl. There we go. Yep, black. Change page. Birthmarks? No. 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 Oh, no. Scar? No. Yeah. Hand size, medium, glasses? No. No, we don't want glasses. No. Pants? Yeah, shirts, pants, dresses. Fuck it, skirts too. Let's do it, let's go on. Bracelets, necklaces, all that shit. Alright, we're done. Whew. Alright, it's been a year, I think, since I've read this. Alright, summer and sunset bird was a special time of year. You're usually sleepy toward... Wow, your usually sleepy town began to bustle. Hold on, it's like really loud for me. Excuse me for one moment. You can probably actually hear me better now. It was a popular tourist destination with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung into the air, bringing 3 whole months of school-less vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunbird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved or asked you how your family was, or more often just said hello. You didn't really get why they always had to say hi. They saw you every day, but you nodded back at them. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people since most of the tourists came and went every year, where went every summer were the same ones. You were too anxious to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all knew you well enough to expect that. We're gonna go with the first one, because, I mean, that's me in real life. I don't really like talking to people. Okay, it was a polite thing to do after all, and your moms had taught you to always be respectful, but today there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really, really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms call it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your mom's had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. Alright, you hadn't exactly been listening at the time. You think it could be okay to talk to new people. They mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. You remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite. That's what I would say as a parent. You weren't sure about this man yet. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door, but you were pretty interested. You wanted to know more about what was going on. Whether he was nice or not, you didn't want to be bothered. The first one. You slowed down, your mind racing for ideas on how to get past him unseen, but it was too late to escape. There was a split second where your eyes met and you took in a shaky breath, your eyes darting to the sky, pretending to stare at a bird who was hovering nearby. Hey! His voice startled you and made you jump, but you still didn't look at him. The bird landed on top of a nearby gate post, and its black feathers ruffled against the gentle breeze. Trying to keep your eyes on it was tough, especially when the man stood up and started to make his way toward you. Not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared, still unsure about how you felt about him, but willing to be friendly. You offered the stranger a smile. Your whole body was frozen in place as he approached. We're gonna go with not wanting to seem too approachable, with our arms folded, and we just stare, because that's just what I would do. Especially if I was a kid, I was awkward as fuck. So, do you live around here? What's your name? You looked the man up and down, taking in his tan skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting was not. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wonder if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. We can say, yeah, I live here, I live right there, my name is Nori, or you continue to say nothing. We're going to continue to say nothing because he's a stranger and strangers are dangerous. If you do, he rubbed the back of his neck uncomfortably, giving you a small smile. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Well, could you do me a favor? Nothing bad, sorry, I should have... Let me start that over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you're standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove. Who's about your age? Cove. That seemed like a strange name for an actual living person to you. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. You thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I think his name is pretty cool. I like the name Cove. You've never met anyone with that name. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be Nori Cavern, right? I met your moms earlier and they told me you were about 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance, and can you keep this? He's a good kid, you'll like him. But you've got to keep it a secret too, okay? He wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. You eyed the man, you kind of felt sorry for Cove, or did the other kids really get their parents to pay for friendships? I'm gonna eye him because he's weird. That's just a weird thing for an adult to do, in my opinion. It's just weird. Even if your kid is like, you know, not conventionally social, doesn't meet normal standards. It's just weird to bribe children to be friends. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. What could be so bad about this Cove kid that his dad would need to bribe strangers to be friends with him? What do you say? Want to make a deal? You took the bill, you didn't want the money, you ran away. We're gonna run away. You spun around and made a break for it. Stranger danger, no thanks, old man. You don't offer an explanation, just focus on getting away. Yep. You turned on the spot and bolted down the street, ignoring his calls from behind you. Hey! Come back, I'm sorry if I scared you. I didn't know how else to ask. The soles of your shoes slapped against the concrete sidewalk as you ran, heat from the sun warm on your face. Step 1. First sight. Eventually, his shouting faded into the distance. You let yourself slow down and try to catch your breath, wiping the sweat from your forehead with the back of your hand. The chirping of crickets and tall, dry grass echoed around you, and you lifted your head to survey your surroundings. You'd run right into the hills behind your house's backyard. From here, you could probably get back inside without seeing that guy again. What do we want to say? There was a loose plank on the back fence, too small to fit through, but you could try waving to Lizzie for help. The fence was pretty high, but you stood on a neighbor's short fence post. You might be able to pull yourself over. You won't be able to hide here until... You would be able to hide here until he left. Then you would rather go through the front door. Let's get Lizzie's help. Even though I don't like Lizzie, let's get her help. You couldn't yell because the man might find out where you were, but your family would see you sooner or later. You took a deep breath and you wanted to try to relax, and you couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden with the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead of himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have green hair, wavy eyebrows, huge glasses, pink cast, sad frowns. Sad frowns. But this new boy did. You wondered what could have upset him. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another, and then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi? Hi, Space Cadet, or are you lost? Let's go. Hi, Space Cadet. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheek, and his knees soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. He was your age, but he didn't look familiar. Maybe he was the boy that weird new neighbor had been talking about before you ran. Only way to actually know was to ask. Who are you? I've never seen you. What's your name, anyway? Or you waited for him to say something. Let's say, who are you? I've never seen you before. He sniffled a little, rubbing at his ruddy cheeks before he answered. My name's Cove. You could see him hesitate, shifting his eyes to the side and then back to you again. My dad and me, we moved here. Your guess was confirmed. So, is this your hill? He gestured with his injured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. Yep. You can't own a hill. You shook your head. We're gonna shake our head. While doing so, you also picked at a strand of lint on your leg. What a weird question to ask someone. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently. As the stars twinkled above, the way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? Why did your family move? I'm going to say, why are you here? I feel like that's less insensitive than why did your family move? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question, almost like they never stopped. His tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. They don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave and he took me with him, and now we have a house here, and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry. You'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. Stop crying. I'm gonna say, we're gonna say I'm sorry because I don't really know what else to say. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Ooh, don't do that. You'll get wrinkles. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. You felt bad for him being forced to come here with no choice. You couldn't imagine what it would feel like to live with only one of your moms, but it must be pretty hard. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Nori! Cove! Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here. I don't want to go back to the house. I want to go home. You can handle it. You have to go. Don't worry so much. Sorry I have to. It will be okay. I'm going to tell him it will be okay because, I mean, there's really not any other options. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not going to all be fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really, really need him. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself to your feet. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked towards the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm. Sorry, I still don't want to go. You called out yourself. You waited silently with him. You tried to convince him. Alright, we're gonna wait silently with him. Yeah, I get it. You do? Before you could answer, you heard Cove's dad, even closer than before. There you are, bud. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you, and they rushed over. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Nori, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. What do you want to say? No, we were just sitting in the grass. Why is everyone acting like this is such a big thing? We're okay, don't worry. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. We're gonna say why is everyone acting? If we were older than 8, I would say why is everyone acting like this is such big deal, like a big thing. But I'm gonna say we're okay, don't worry. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. You shrugged. Yes, I like him. He's good. I think I'm gonna marry him. What the fuck? Yeah, let's say that. You nodded, smiling slightly. Oh, that's wonderful. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you. Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Nori knows this whole area so well. Absolutely, we should be getting home now. It's been a long day for all of us. Say goodbye, Cove. The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading towards the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper play date tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? You nodded, ducking your head down. It sounds like words. Sure, can I show him my stuff? I'm gonna say it sounds like words. Both of your moms laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Okay, this is how you feel towards Cove for this step. It can change in later steps. We're going to be nervous, and we're going to be indifferent. You won't be able to change this until step 2. Yeah, we're gonna go because I mean we just met. No, we'll be relaxed but indifferent. Early the next morning, you were poking at your food, eating it slowly. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stay put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to hear your new friend again, Nori? Maybe we could become friends. You hoped your moms knew you were joking about marrying Cove. It would be bad if they had started planning a wedding. With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Your bowl was entirely empty, so you nodded. Haha, I don't know, am I? Yeah. We're gonna nod. We're gonna be weird. Mm-hmm. Good job, he should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then on cue there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Nori, could you get it? Because Mom said so, you wandered over to the door. Hey, Cavern family, thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and where he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him and my mom and mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. You studied Cove apathetically. This was the parents' plan, not yours. Not seeming any more excited than you were, he just stared back. You twisted the shell bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the flower bead bracelet on your wrist. Let's do the shell. Do you want to go play in your room, Nori? Sure. Come on, it's upstairs. Okay. Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids. See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out of. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. I don't. Thank you. I drew that. Me too. We're gonna tell him I drew that. Cool. You smiled at him. You were proud of the particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it, and he turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the wall. You hope he had liked your room. You were glad for the company. You felt the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You started to feel a bit nervous. I'm gonna say the atmosphere is a little bit awkward. You wanted to say something but didn't know what, so you let him keep looking. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you collected tucked away behind your door. He took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach. Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. I think so. Yeah, see? You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand. This is a good collection. You got the sense that, from his tone, that he wasn't just saying it to be nice, or to be Shiloh. Or to be like Shiloh, he actually meant it. Oh right, I almost forgot Shiloh's gonna be here today. Shiloh? Lizzie's friend, or, like, her #1 fan, I guess? Do I have to see him? It should be okay, I mean, he's Lizzie's friend, not mine, but you know. Come on, check out my shells some more. I found this one under a big piece of seaweed that had washed ashore, and you pulled out the seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past few years, you'd even learned some of their scientific names. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell. Your voice faltered a little bit, and you kept going as best as you could. We're gonna go with the scientific shit. You had a whole picture book dedicated to different shells and sea life. You learned a lot by flipping through its pages. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like full force of his attention. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, even if it was only directed at the shells. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guess it was because you found each other by accident and a parent didn't make it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you had both been escorted downstairs and disposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. You should have asked. Okay, but be careful. Great. I want to say great. Bust it open. We can keep looking while we wait for Shiloh. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. You can take it. I like a different one best. I can show it to you. Oh, that's my favorite too. Cove smiled at you and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades. I hope that didn't catch on. I know. But I had to cough. Cove smiled at you and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades of dark and light orange. If you held it to your ear, you could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell that he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be alright, he's here. We can't tell him to leave. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it, scrambling to think of something to say. You stepped forward and then paused. Do you want to break your other arm? Shiloh is the least scary person alive. Cheer up. Shiloh's going to like you. Please don't get hurt. I'll come with you. I'm going to say good idea. Let's go. Because, you know, apparently it seems like we're not very fond of Shiloh. So yeah. Hurry, they'll see where we're going. He glanced back at you, then nodded. The two of you made your way to the window together. It wasn't much of a distance to clamber out, but by the time you landed gently in the bushes, you looked up to see that Cove was already taken off away from the house. He was fast, but you knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast. You knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast, but neither were you. At that speed, you weren't sure if you could go fast enough to reach him. Yeah, let's go with that one. We need to work on our cardio. Hey, wait up. You ran as fast as your legs would take you, grass whipping around your ankles as you did. Cautiously, Cove slowed to a halt and looked back at you. Where are you going? I don't know, somewhere else. I just don't want to see... Nori! You looked back and saw Shiloh huffing down the hill after you, the backpack he clutched bouncing all around along the way. What are you doing? Can I come? He must have seen you leaving out the window and followed behind. Oh, hi. Are you Cove?
Yeah.
I'm Shiloh. Okay. Yep. Are we going back, or are we gonna play outside? Shiloh's eyes moved between you and Cove. The smile remained strong on his face. It got a tiny frown from Cove in response. You were just grateful he hadn't asked why you had been running away. Inside, we left the box on the floor. Right, my shells and stuff. We have to make sure they're okay. Okay. With Shiloh trailing behind you and Cove, headed back towards the house. Excuse me. I have like an itch in my throat. The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do so much of anything else. Hey, check out the scallop shell I found. Cool, right? It's pretty cool. It's a pretty color. I kind of like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay. Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool, I guess. I like those colors too. There are butter colors. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence. You look back at your shells. Yeah, I'm gonna let them two just... Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cole's eyes lit up at the mention of a park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up behind him in excitement. Really? You do, too? Right, Nori? The park is fun. No, the park is pretty great. I love it. No. Oh, I still want to go see. You do? Yeah. Like a puppy watching a ping pong match, Shiloh looked back and forth between you and Cove. So, are we gonna go find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short she would always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Nori, Shiloh, hi. She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In the split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You weren't sure if this was an improvement. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new. I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely. I hate Lizzie. She gestured widely with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. To present the area, my bad. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wiggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with these ideas. You are? Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Nori's age. That's so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth. For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Yeah, they're really bad. Stop saying stuff like that. You're getting upset. Only some of them don't like kids. You interjected quickly, hoping Lizzie wouldn't take things too far. Cove sniffled, his forehead creased with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Nori in school. You'll see tons of kids there when summer's over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up a conversation with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot, too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed at Shiloh's discomfort, at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely. You didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up. Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put your feet up, and get used to it. This is right. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. The first summer you hadn't really been interested in him, one way or another. He was just kind of a fact of life, someone you met with because he was there. Of course that was only the start of things. Alright, well we're gonna end it there. We got lots of things to go through, but that's where we're ending it, and I will catch y'all in the next segment. Thanks for listening.